All right. Hello and good morning, everybody. Good morning, FM. I feel like FM works. You can say fine morning, right? Fine morning, free morning. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Premarket Prep session. This is our daily session every morning around 8:40, where we go over all of the news, notes, information, trade ideas that will be absolutely pivotal to keeping us consistently profitable. We knocked it out of the park last week. It was an amazing week, very profitable week, but even more importantly, a great week for the execution that occurred. And we're looking to keep that ball rolling as we head into earnings season, which is really going to start kicking off this week. As always, we're here with one intention, and that's to get 1% better. So make sure you drop a one in the comments, whether you're watching live or via replay, to signify you planting your flag to get 1% better today. It doesn't happen by accident. It doesn't happen coincidentally. It happens because you intend for it to happen, and then you follow up that intention with action, right? So happy to be here and to be joined by you guys. And I'm going to go ahead and dive into what we got going on today. Let's see here. I also want to double check. Sorry, I'm going through my email, trying to find the and since yesterday we didn't go over the week ahead, I'll make sure to cover the week ahead first, and then we can kind of dive into our Tuesday specific news. Now, in terms of top news, and I know you guys went over, but I want us to go over it together. The earnings calendar in the week ahead includes big reports from Netflix, Bank of America, IBM, and Tesla. Economic reports of note include the latest Empire Manufacturing readout, the June retail sales report, existing home sales report, and other jobless claims update. Federal Reserve members will be in a blackout period ahead of the Federal Reserve meeting scheduled for July 25th through 26th. At publication time, the probability of a rate hike at the July meeting had risen to 92% based on Fed funds futures trading. Looking ahead, Seeking Alpha investing group leader Stone Fox Capital said the signs inflation problems are coming to an end. Rate hikes, and rate hikes are nearly over, has the Russell 2000, which is IWM, stocks rallying. After a big rally in the major indexes of large cap stocks focused on the Magnificent Seven stocks, the advice doled out is that investors should have a preference for small cap stocks in the Russell 2000. So in terms of the earnings spotlight, Bank of America on Tuesday is going to be important. Morgan Stanley on Tuesday. We also have Lockheed Martin today as well. So now we're getting some household names reporting, some names that we have actively traded over the course of the past few months. I got an alert there on Morgan Stanley pre-market. It looks like it popped up and then, went back down. So all the banks kind of seeming to get mixed reviews here. None of them managing to really stay over the daily breakout level that they need to. So as a result, I have no interest in them until they can make that shake, right? Until they can get that pop and hold over their respective daily levels. Let me see here. So Lockheed Martin, we got some opinion here. Lockheed Martin is likely to continue outperforming the market due to increasing defense budgets and geopolitical situation. Yep, I'd say that's pretty on-point analysis, right? Really the analysis that we've held over the course of the past year and a half with Lockheed. So, they're not always big earnings movers. We did that before, playing earnings on Lockheed, and it worked out, but just not to the magnitude that, it was anticipated that it would work out. But overall, Lockheed is bullish currently. If I check them out on the daily chart, they were bullish on the daily above 463.33. We've been above that, and we started to push as of yesterday. And I like Lockheed short term as well if we can hold over 474 basically on the hourly. So 473.99. We're kind of floating over that area now. So Lockheed is something that you can watch at open. Again, you need to go back, kind of review exactly what was entailed in their earnings report, but I doubt it was bad. Still, good to go back and do that for due diligence. But Lockheed Martin, something to look at open here as we are testing hourly bull flag breakout with that, kind of gap over. Now we're sitting on top of yesterday's hourly high. So again, 474, big area on Lockheed Martin. watch Lockheed Martin calls at open. If we interact with that 474 area / right above it, as long as we hold above it on the hourly, I like Lockheed to continue higher. Wednesday is the big day. We got Goldman Sachs, Tesla, Netflix, IBM, United Airlines, Las Vegas Sands, right? We've got a number of different household names reporting. So that is going to be the day that everybody is, looking forward to. You have no idea what will happen, right? You have no idea what will happen, how things will occur. Am I bullish on Tesla? Yes, you guys know that. Does that mean that they automatically knock it out of the park on earnings? No, right? So just understand that going in, that Tesla doesn't owe us anything. Goldman Sachs doesn't owe us anything, right? These companies don't owe us anything. So don't go in expecting that, it has to fly. That's why, unless you have lottos, our Tesla positions are longer because you want that time in case something does happen for earnings. And let's say the gap to the downside that Tesla left, it fills it. You still have time, for it to make that up and push back higher. Now, in terms of earnings spotlight, but do I think they'll do bad because of that? No, I think they'll probably have, they just announced the first Cybertruck production. I feel like they'll probably have more news about the Cybertruck, which they've been like bleeding out over years because it's taken so long for them to actually build the Cybertruck. But yeah, I think they'll have some Cybertruck news. And who else? Elon loves to stoke the clout, and really kind of really up the ante. He's a showman. In terms of Thursday, Johnson & Johnson, Abbott Laboratories, Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing, right? So the first of the computer chips. And they're in a very interesting spot as well, given geopolitical tension and issues between the U.S. and China. Philip Morris, American Airlines, Capital One, also all reporting as well. And then American Express on Friday is probably the biggest name, ticker AXP. Do we have any other events that are worth mentioning? Corporate events? Not really. There's some mention of Netflix here, how it's viewed favorably just ahead of its earnings report, even with the Hollywood film industry facing the major acting / writing strike. The quarterly results from Netflix are expected to reflect some of the streaming giants' restructured business model, including the addition of an ad-backed subscription tier and a crackdown on password sharing. The latest breakdown on subscriber growth indicates that the consensus estimates may be too low. Netflix could also reveal cuts in content spending in an effort to boost its free cash flow as well as boost buybacks. Those topics will be of high interest to the striking writers and actors. So a little bit of context here ahead of, Netflix, who will be reporting earnings this week. Netflix contracts do tend to be pretty expensive, so just like be aware of that. Expensive compared to kind of what we classically trade. So Netflix, you're looking at like $500, $600 a contract, as opposed to like, the normal maybe $100, $200 per contract that we trade. I feel like we trade a lot of under $100 contracts, and then we trade some, kind of under $200. That's the majority of what we trade. So just make sure, going into it, if you swing Netflix, you know that Netflix just tends to be more expensive. And what else do we got going on here? What do we have? We have popping in terms of news. So let's go and dive into our Tuesday specific news here. Well, there we go. All right. Throw a 3 in the chat if you're still with me, if you understand what we got going on in the week ahead. SPY remains bullish. It hasn't had like the clean movement or anything like that. But as I said yesterday in the pre-market Loom video, right, that I threw into the Facebook group there, it's important to understand the overarching sentiment in the market. It's still bullish, right? So what do? You still err to the side of bullish. So even when you chop and you don't know what we're doing, you err to the side of us chopping to the upside. Why? That's where we are on the daily. So again, whenever you're making your decisions and kind of trying to figure out, okay, should I place this trade? Should I not place this trade? Should I get in before the breakout is official? This, that, and the third. If SPY's chopping and acting weird, should I be scared and get out, or should I stay in? All of those questions, the majority of the time, are answered by your expectations based off of larger sentiment on the daily, right? On the daily chart. So remember that. It's something I talked about last week. It led us to a ton of huge profit trades to the upside on calls last week. Google, Tesla, Microsoft, Meta, you name it. We hit all the big techs, right? It led us to the promised land there. So just make sure you have that in the background when you're making your decisions. You say, okay, at the end of the day, I know that we're bullish on the daily. I'm going to make my decisions based off of that kind of bias and you'll be better off, right, than just assuming things are kind of 50-50. The bulls are in control. So don't, kind of say, oh, well, we could drop or we could do this or we could do that. For the most part, we're going to continue setting higher highs and higher lows. And that's what you need to be focused on. And that can help you make decisions. So throw a 5 in the chat if you understand that, if that makes sense. Because a lot of people kind of struggle and they think like, oh, there's always a 50-50 chance of us going up and down. And that's not the case. It's not the case at all. The majority of the time, there's a higher percentage chance of one over the other. And in this case, it's to go up. In terms of top news here, catching up, Ford Motor, ticker F, is playing catch up with Tesla as the battle for market share in the EV space escalates. Ford slashed the prices of its F-150 Lightning electric truck as it takes advantage of increased plant capacity, improved battery raw material costs, and continued work on scaling production. The Detroit automaker has been working on improved accessibility to help lower prices and shorten the wait times for the F-150 Lightning. Now, digging deeper, Ford has been upgrading its Michigan plant to triple its annual run rate to a targeted 150K F-150 Lightning truck starting this fall. The upgrades will lead to greater availability of a built-to-order truck as early as October. The updated F-150 Lightning prices are pro MSRP to $49,995 from $59,974. And basically, they just list out prices of more vehicles, right? Backdrop, CFRA noted that the ramp up of F-150 Lightning has been sluggish and impacted by battery-related issues. Only around 4.5 thousand units delivered in Q2. Ford's latest price cuts come just a couple of days after Tesla said the first Cybertruck rolled off the assembly line. Quote, Ford hears footsteps of Cybertruck and Rivian, said Wedbush analyst Dan Ives. Tesla previously made aggressive price cuts across its portfolio amid growing competition. In response, Ford has slashed the price of its Mustang Mach-E electric SUV by as much as $6K. So the EV wars are in full swing. They've been, kind of a conflict that we've been monitoring for a number of years at this point, and they continue to ramp up. So Ford is kind of trying to keep up. Rivian back in the news. They had that weekly inverse head and shoulders, and Rivian, flew on the back of that. And, they've got deals that they're making, and Ford is kind of feeling the heat, feeling like they might be getting left behind, and they're trying to make something shake because of it. So, we'll see Ford trying to regain its step and get back into it here as Tesla not only maintains its firm lead, but really kind of does so with conviction, like firms that lead up and if anything, kind of widens the gap. Now, in terms of tech news, lead woes, AT&T, Frontier Communications, and Telephone and Data Systems continued last week's slide after a recent investigation revealed that telecom companies have left behind lead woes. I thought it was lead woes. They left behind lead-sheathed cables. So TDS Telecommunications has located about 10 miles of lead cables in its network. Citi believes the concerns will likely be an overhang for at least a few months and potentially longer, echoing concerns by other Wall Street analysts. However, Seeking Alpha analysts do not seem phased. TradeVestor expects AT&T to bounce back into high teens once the panic is over. Investing group leader JR Research said while there is near-term downside for Verizon, its June lows should remain well supported. Now, in terms of commodities news here, grain deal, U.S. wheat and corn futures settled lower, reversing early gains after news of Russia's decision to end participation in the deal that lets Ukraine export crops through the Black Sea. Analysts think the deal could still be renewed as Russia has threatened to exit the agreement many times in the past. Russia said it would consider rejoining the pact if it saw concrete results on its demands. Wheat prices lost steam as cooler heads prevailed to the tame initial rally. RCM's Doug Bergman said, quote, it's the market saying we are not surprised by this, he said, but warned that the prospect of tighter supplies remains real. Now, in terms of economic news here or broader economy news, more rejection. More Americans are getting rejected for loans while fewer are applying for any kind of credit as banks tighten credit conditions amid rising borrowing costs. The rejection rate for U.S. credit applicants climbed to 21.8% in the 12 months through June, a Federal Reserve survey showed, marking the highest level since June 2018. The increase has been broad-based across age groups and highest among those with credit scores under 680. The rejection rate for auto loans exceeded the application rate for the first time since the Fed's SCE credit access survey started in 2013, notching a new series high. So, credit not as easy to come by nowadays. Obviously, high borrowing costs has something to do with it, but also just the insane amounts of credit, right, that have already been doled out, and the increased delinquency rate as well. Let's see here. Getting back to it. In terms of today's markets, let's see. It says we're flat. Are we still flat? Let's check it out and investigate this flatness for ourselves, people. No longer flat. Looks like we'll likely open up red on SPY, which again is not very surprising given that end of day analysis that I gave yesterday. Right, we put in that shooting star, gravestone doji type candle on the hourly yesterday. End of day, we did that off of daily resistance. So not at all shocking that we opened red here this morning. Does that mean that we sell? No, not definitively. If we do lose, let's see here. On SPY, if we lose that 450.21 and hold beneath that on the hourly, we're likely to continue lower. Does that mean we sell our pants off? No. Does that mean we sell down, from 450 to, I don't know, 400? Absolutely not, right? But it does mean that we can see selling, and again, selling that we are prepared for, because that would entail a little double top action on the hourly, right? Double top off that 451 area. So if we lose 450.21, puts the short-term move there on SPY for sure. But we have to hold beneath on the hourly, right, in order for that to kind of be valid. If you do get into puts beforehand, then it's just risky, right? That's all it is, just an extra element of risk. Doesn't mean it won't work out. It just means that risk is there. But in other areas of the world here, in terms of today's markets, in Asia, Japan, we're up 0.3%. Hong Kong, we're down 2.1%. China down 0.4%. India up 0.3%. London, we're up 0.1%. Paris flat. Frankfurt down 0.1%. The Dow, we're up 0.1%. S&P flat. NASDAQ down 0.1%. As we just saw, S&P, NASDAQ, Dow, they're all likely probably down now. Crude oil up 0.4%. Gold up 0.6%. Bitcoin down 0.5%. Right on 30K. Today's economic calendar, retail sales at 8:30 a.m. So we got those already. Nothing really during the market day that's of any consequence. Now, what else is happening? WSB survey results, stock market uncertainty to reign this earnings season. Senator Warren calls for probe into Tesla's corporate governance. Microsoft, Activision planning later close to $69 billion deal. Chip Trade Group asked Biden to refrain from further curbs on China. Eli Lilly confirms Alzheimer's drug slows cognitive decline. Petrobras, ticker PBR, maintains spending plan, will adjust dividend policy. Let's check back in on Eli Lilly there, as we talked about it last week and how it had fit. Oh, let me go back and turn on those. Need to turn back on my correct trading set. Apply. Okay. Yeah, so Eli Lilly right now bouncing off that 50-day simple moving average. It's one of those stocks where it doesn't often fall. It's really just kind of in a very, very kind of coherent and ongoing uptrend. But Eli Lilly, something to keep an eye on here this morning. Obviously, they've got good news from that drug trial, right? Their Alzheimer's drug slowing cognitive decline. They had fallen based off of like negative news about one of their drugs. And it was a number of different companies. I think it was regarding the weight loss drug, but above that 450.39 area on the hourly, I like Eli Lilly. You could even say maybe that just 450 area in general, right on that 450. But definitely something to watch here at open, as Eli Lilly looks like it could, kind of make something shake here. Let's see what this recent price action was looking like. Yep. Yeah, so that whole 450 area really, especially even for 450.25, right? If we could close over 450.25 on the hourly, I like Eli Lilly short term. I like them, for some nice calls to continue to push. So Eli Lilly, something else we're looking today above that 450 area. I like Eli Lilly for calls. So make sure that you've got all that marked off and you're ready to go. keep that, in mind here as we approach the open. Gonna set some alerts. Eli Lilly's bull flagging here. And then it's also got, a little cup and handle as well within the consolidation portion of that bull flag. So we can get, kind of a real rocket from Eli Lilly here today if we end up firing that. So keep an eye out. Summer letdown, new Mission Impossible draws $235 million in opening. Lithium Americas, ticker LAC, gains as appeal of Thacker Pass mine denied. China slowdown won't tip U.S. economy into recession, says Yellen. For you guys who don't know, there was like information about, new updates for what we expect like out of China, in their GDP, and they were downwardly revised. So we expect like less production and output from China. And Janet Yellen says that isn't something that's going to tip us into recession here in America. And then Kathy Wood writes down Twitter stake, but claims to remain bullish. I'm sure you are, Kathy. But anyways, that'll wrap us up, put a bow on it, and take us out for today's session of the pre-market prep session. Throw a 7 in the chat if you're 1% better by the end of this session. You already know kind of my outlook going into things this morning. I already let you know the levels for SPY. Eli Lilly is something that we're watching. And then Lockheed, I think, too, was something else that we were watching, right? Was it LMT that we were looking at? It was a few different tickers. We've got Tesla this week. We've got Netflix this week. So I'm excited to get, some type of update on those. And overall, everybody just make sure you have a great and safe day out there trading markets. Yes, thank you, my man. Rich Dub, appreciate you, brother. And everybody have a great day out there. I'll see you back here tomorrow morning for our next pre-market prep session. Peace.